Membership means more with American Express Business Gold. Earn 4 times membership rewards points in your top 2 eligible spending categories every month, including eligible U.S. advertising purchases and select media, and U.S. purchases at restaurants, including takeout and delivery. What are you waiting for? Get the card that flexes with your spending every month. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come experience the beauty that awaits in Scotland. The sweep of wild coastlines, quiet lochs, and untamed landscapes. Fresh cuisine that feels rooted in the land. Come experience the kind of stillness that stays with you long after you leave. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
One of the aspects of aging that we can identify with age stem cells is they differentiate into the wrong tissue. An older person, an increasing amount of their regeneration, if it is even occurring, even though it's suppressed, is becoming the wrong tissue type. And so that's why we see an older person with the phenotypic expression of like stiff, less fluid muscles and movement. Some of the goals of the product is actually to quiet down inflammation. Some of the ingredients are designed to actually elicit a pulse of the stem cells. So it wakes them up and it gets them into circulation.
Hey all, Jonathan from Go2 Health. Let me ask, how do you sustain your energy throughout the day? I try to do it with the morning cup of coffee and then one in the afternoon as a pick-me-up, and of course my daily vitamins. But what if I told you I was trying something new that's working for me just great? It provides me with sustained energy and focus, with caffeine for alertness, but balanced by amino acids and taurine to prevent jitters or crashes. It also has a blend of B vitamins, L-carnitine, and choline to power my energy and mental clarity, even if I didn't get the best night's sleep. It's also packed with vitamins A, C, and E to support my immune health, even with my days of packed schedules. And it's sugar-free and what I'll call flavor-forward. I alternate between 3 delicious flavors: mandarin orange, mango strawberry, and fruit punch. Just 1 small scoop of mix in 8 ounces of water and I'm done. Boom, off to the races. This formula boasts 32 years of brand expertise and thousands of 5-star reviews from millions of users. And it's a woman-owned company. What's this product I'm yakking about? It's called Spark Energy Plus Focus from Advocare. Spark Energy Plus Focus. For Go2Health listeners, I've scored 30% off and free shipping. Go to drinkspark.com and use code GO2Health at checkout. That's code GO2Health at drinkspark.com. Let's tackle the day together with Spark Energy Plus Focus.
And then other ones are supporting differentiation and even stem cell protection.
Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Marx from Go2Health. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We have a great topic today. We're talking about the incredible powerhouse of your body's stem cells. Your body's stem cells are the key to rejuvenation and regeneration. Stem cells are a special type of cell that has 2 important properties. They're able to make more cells like themselves, that is, they self-renew. And they can become other cells that do different things in a process known as differentiation. Stem cells are found in almost all tissues of the body, and they're needed for the maintenance of tissue as well as for repair after injury. Depending on where the stem cells are, they can develop into different types of tissues. But as we age, our stem cells age along with us, which can result in reduced tissue repair, decreased immune function, tissue dysfunction, and increased cancer risk. Fortunately, there's a way to rejuvenate and kickstart your stem cells, and that's the topic of our show today. Discover the incredible potential of these cells and how they can be harnessed to improve your overall health and well-being. Learn about the latest research and advancements in stem cell therapy and how it can be used to prevent and treat a range of diseases and conditions. With us to talk about this today is Dr. Dan Pardi. He's the Chief Health Officer at Qualia Life Sciences, where he leads education to advance health span and peak performance. He holds a PhD in cognitive neuroscience from Leiden University and Stanford, and speaks frequently at events like TEDx, VC firms, and the Institute for Human Machine Cognition. Because you're a Go to Health listener, we have a special deal for you today. If you go to qualialife.com, that's QUALIA, qualialife.com/GTH, and enter the coupon code GTH, you'll enjoy 15% off your products. Again, that's qualialife.com/GTH. Use the coupon code GTH. As a reminder, before we get to Dan, if you like our show, please leave us a 5-star review or a thumbs up on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, or wherever you're listening to us. It helps us get the word out. Thanks in advance. So welcome to the show, Dan Pardi. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Jonathan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. I'm glad to have you here. So tell us, what exactly are stem cells and why are they so vital for healthy aging?
Yes, it's a really phenomenal topic. They're core to our repair system of the body, and they're getting a lot of attention now because we are finally at a place where we can intervene. At least there's evidence for this in a way that might shift our health, repair injuries in some cases, and even some things that are quite futuristic in terms of what might be possible with them. And of course, what we do at Qualia as a supplement company, we're looking to see if there are nutraceutical compounds that might support stem cell health. So that's the kind of overall overarching idea of what they're about. But yes, they are a fundamental part of how our body repairs itself. We live on average around 80 years, at least in the United States, before that started to decline slightly recently. But not all of our cells that make up the 37 trillion fleet of cells that comprise us last our entire life. And so when those cells get burned out due to a variety of reasons, then they need to be replaced with functional tissue. And that is the primary goal of what our stem cells do.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And they just occur naturally in the body?
Yeah. Yes, we have niches or pools of different types of stem cells. And so fundamentally what a stem cell will do is an analogy that I really like, because it helped me even grasp them, is think of a mold like a lump of clay. And that lump of wet clay, you can mold into a plate or a dish or a bowl. Mm-hmm. But once it becomes that thing and hardens, then the fate of whatever that original lump of clay becomes is locked in. Mm-hmm. And just like that with cells, stem cells have a degree of potency, which means they can become different types of tissues. So we have a totipotent or pluripotent stem cell, and those can become a wide variety of different types of tissues in the body, all the way down to a multipotent. It can become several different types of tissues in the body, or even down to a unipotent stem cell, which only becomes one different type of tissue. So for example, a muscle satellite cell is a type of stem cell or progenitor cell, and that will only become a muscle fiber. So that's generally how they work. We have pools throughout the body. There's probably maybe 15 different types of stem cells that are around our body, and they're mostly in a dormant state. They think of them like a hibernating bear. And in fact, that's very important for their health. They are considered some of the longest living cells in the body. And in fact, another name for them is forever cells. And one of the reasons why is because they, better than any other cell in the body, they do a fastidious job with maintaining protein balance. Part of that has to do with the fact that because they're dormant for most of their lives, they limit production of proteins because they're in this very quiet metabolic state. But they also have quite aggressive protein folding. There are chaperones, which are types of imagine these like little helpers that are in a cell. And for a protein to work, it's like a key fitting into a lock. And if that key gets a nick on it or bends, it can't do its job. And so what chaperone proteins do is that they will actually magnetically bind to parts of the protein that are off and help it back into conformation so it is effective again. Or if it's broken down enough, they will deliver it to the lysosome where that protein is incinerated into amino acids, and then those amino acids can be built back up again. But they have very, very strong protein folding support in themselves. And they also, part of that cleanup process, they also aggressively clean up through the process of autophagy. So that is one of the reasons why they can stay alive for so long, is that they do these things better than most other cells in the body.
You're really describing a factory within our bodies, aren't you?
That's a really great way to put it, because, what another quite unique feature to them is that they have a very wide range of protein making capability. So on one hand, stem cells can become red blood cells, and those are basically bags of oxygen. There's hardly any proteins in them. On the other hand, you have plasma cells, and they're turning out immune cells constantly. And so they have a very high demand of the different types of proteins that they're making. So just within this one system, you have a extraordinary range of protein making capability.
Now, do our bodies age? Do our stem cells age as well?
Yes, that's a great question. And yes, they do. So one of the hallmarks of aging, and just a quick review of what that means. So back in 2013, one of the most popular papers in the journal Cell was published, called The Hallmarks of Aging, by 5 different researchers. So 2 of the most famous on them is Guido Kromer and then Carlos Opez-Lowton. And those 2 published on this idea of a hallmark of aging, which is a reliable characteristic that you see in the aging process, not just in humans, although the paper was focused on mammalian physiology, but also in other species as well that are non-mammalian. And so sometimes those hallmarks of aging are misperceived as the causes of aging. The cause of aging might be upstream of that, but they are reliable consequences of the aging process. And to answer your question, stem cell exhaustion is one of those original 9 hallmarks of aging. So they undergo problems that are specific that then basically disrupt the function of your stem cells doing what they want to do and replacing tissue.
So when they age, I'm assuming that reduces their repair capacity, correct?
That is the best way to think about what happens, because before that, a variety of weirdness can take place. So as I was mentioning before, they mostly reside in this quiescent state. But when a stem cell ages, they will, from that resting state, one of the characteristics of an aged stem cell is that some of the stem cells will go into very deep sleep. So it's hard for the body and the normal mechanisms to wake that stem cell up, activate it, so that it can undergo the normal steps of self-renewal, proliferation, and then getting into circulation to find where it needs to go and repair injured tissue. So if you can't wake it up, then it's like that stem cell is not even there.
Right.
But that's not the only thing that happens. What also can happen with aging is that the stem cells are too arousable with aging as well. And so now they are being released into circulation too much. There are cases where the amount of stem cells are 9-fold what you see compared to a younger person. So think of it like a Goldilocks principle, that when we get older and health is degraded, it's not just that we make less. Sometimes we can't stimulate them. Sometimes they're overly stimulated, which leads to exhaustion. Either way, we have deviated from proper homeostasis with stem cells, and the end result is, at least in this one characteristic of stem cells, is reduced repair.
So what kind of symptoms does a person feel or be aware of when their stem cells aren't working properly?
Yeah, this is, while not entirely the result of stem cells, all sorts of aspects of aging will have in part.
Hey all, Jonathan from Go To Health. Let me ask, how do you sustain your energy throughout the day? I try to do it with the morning cup of coffee and then one in the afternoon as a pick-me-up, and of course my daily vitamins. But what if I told you I was trying something new that's working for me just great? It provides me with sustained energy and focus, with caffeine for alertness, but balanced by amino acids and taurine to prevent jitters or crashes. It also has a blend of B vitamins, L-carnitine, and choline to power my energy and mental clarity, even if I didn't get the best night's sleep. It's also packed with vitamins A, C, and E to support my immune health, even with my days of packed schedules. And it's sugar-free and what I'll call flavor-forward. I alternate between 3 delicious flavors: mandarin orange, mango strawberry, and fruit punch. Just 1 small scoop of mix in 8 ounces of water and I'm done. Boom, off to the races. This formula boasts 32 years of brand expertise and thousands of 5-star reviews from millions of users. And it's a woman-owned company. What's this product I'm yakking about? It's called Spark Energy Plus Focus from Advocare. Spark Energy Plus Focus. For Go to Health listeners, I've scored 30% off and free shipping. Go to drinkspark.com and use code GoToHealth at checkout. That's code GoToHealth at drinkspark.com. Let's tackle the day together with Spark Energy Plus Focus.
Limited stem cell capability, if you will, as a part of those symptoms that we can both experience or then we can observe. So, for example, we might see sagging skin as collagenous cells are not getting replaced. So think of it when you're younger, if a cell is damaged, there is a net zero effect in terms of the replacement of tissue. You damage some tissue and you replace it. And we can all see that in the remarkable regenerative capacity of a young person. When you get older, the damage that is taking place is not replaced with the same degree of fidelity. And so you can see graying hair and sagging skin. You can have metabolic disturbances. Almost all aspects that we can identify as a part of the aging process, both things that we can feel or things that we can't feel, but we can observe through, let's say, a clinical marker of some sort. All those phenotypic characteristics have stem cells as a part of that process. So that is, it's a major consequence. And one of the reasons why this is so exciting is because if we can actually replace our damaged tissue, we can find ways to do that in a meaningful way, then we're really preserving youthful function longer and even youthful appearance. And of course, we're interested in both of those.
When you talk about metabolic changes, give me some more detail about that so we understand what's included in that.
Yeah, sure. So trying to think about, what do we see? We see that there's issues with insulin sensitivity or glucose tolerance. And all parts of that has, for really a fundamental aspect of what health is the body's ability to maintain its full function. And you can specify that down to very proximal components of the overall working system. And so when parts of a mechanism start to not be replaced at full fidelity, let's say you are only replacing back 90%, 95% of what that function was previously, you will eventually experience a decline. Now, there are compensatory mechanisms at first that mask some of the degradation that does occur, but eventually that will catch up with you and you will start to see things like having a harder time with glucose balance, having a hard time maintaining, seeing HbA1c rise. So there's all, which for a person who's listening, and if they're not familiar with that, that's hemoglobin A1c. It's a way to measure your average glucose levels over a 2 to 4 month stretch of time.
Right.
And so what's happening is those hemoglobin cells are getting glycated, and if it's reflecting your average level of blood glucose. And so that is whether it is a reduction in insulin's capacity to handle the glucose in the system, whether it's cells' ability to take it in from the bloodstream and into the tissues and be used effectively, right? There's all sorts of ways in which that system is going to degrade. And of course, replacing tissues is going to be a component of that too.
You've talked about blood sugar here and blood sugar systems. Is there also effects, let's say, on digestion or brain processing, mental acuity?
There is no part of the body that will go untouched from a decline in the efficacy of our stem cells. So absolutely, we have neural stem cells, we have intestinal stem cells.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two of the 15 different types of pools that are in the body that are replacing tissues constantly. And so, for example, with the gut, what might we see if the cell lining of the gut is not being replaced to the same degree as full function? You're going to see perhaps leaky gut, dysbiosis, problems that are going to then lead to an increase in inflammation in the body because the body barrier systems are not handling their job of allowing in the good aspects like nutrients and keeping out things like lipopolysaccharides and other types of toxins. And so when that barrier system, whether it's in the gut or the blood-brain barrier or the orchid system that is feeding testicles in men, all of our different barrier systems, if those degrade, you're going to have a harder time maintaining homeostasis.
Wow. So if I can just summarize what I've just heard, as we age, things decline, and our stem cells are the cells that repair the systems in our body, but even the stem cells can age. So as we age, things can just start breaking down. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
And even though stem cells are themselves a hallmark of aging, stem cell exhaustion, they too will be subject to the other hallmarks of aging, like genomic instability, telomere attrition, higher levels of oxidative stress and inflammation. So even though they are one of the hallmarks of aging, they too are subject to the others as well.
Is there a specific age where supporting stem cells can become especially important?
Well, as we know, lifestyle is critical to supporting all types of tissues in the body. So
let's talk about that.
As you would expect, exercise, all of the cardinal aspects of lifestyle that we recognize as healthy do themselves have an impact in stem cell balance and health. So I'll give you an example.
Hey all, Jonathan from Go2 Health. Let me ask, how do you sustain your energy throughout the day? I try to do it with the morning cup of coffee and then one in the afternoon as a pick-me-up, and of course my daily vitamins. But what if I told you I was trying something new that's working for me just great? It provides me with sustained energy and focus, with caffeine for alertness, but balanced by amino acids and taurine to prevent jitters or crashes. It also has a blend of B vitamins, L-carnitine, and choline to power my energy and mental clarity, even if I didn't get the best night's sleep. It's also packed with vitamins A, C, and E to support my immune health, even with my days of packed schedules. And it's sugar-free and what I'll call flavor-forward. I alternate between 3 delicious flavors: mandarin orange, mango strawberry, and fruit punch. Just 1 small scoop of mix in 8 ounces of water and I'm done. Boom, off to the races. This formula boasts 32 years of brand expertise and thousands of 5-star reviews from millions of users. And it's a woman-owned company. What's this product I'm yakking about? It's called Spark Energy Plus Focus from Advocare. Spark Energy Plus Focus. For Go2Health listeners, I've scored 30% off and free shipping. Go to drinkspark.com and use code GO2Health at checkout. That's code GO2Health at drinkspark.com. Let's tackle the day together with Spark Energy Plus Focus.
Even just a 15-minute interval of intense high-intensity training can create a 2.5 times surge in circulating stem cells. So even though I mentioned earlier that stem cells, once they degrade their ability to maintain homeostasis, you're seeing, in some cases, 9-fold increases in stem cells. We do see in other tissues less of an ability to actually get them into circulation. And so I'll just take one moment because it'll help, I think, the listener it'll close the loop. So I talked about how they live in hibernation, but then they need to be activated, woken up. They need to then undergo the self-renewal process where they make a clone of themselves, which is another stem cell that could do the same job as its parent cell. And then one of the daughter cells is a progenitor cell, which is then destined to go find tissue somewhere to then replace tissues. Then they then need to migrate to the right place. They need to get into the tissue niche. And then they need to listen to signs of the local environment that then tell it very specifically what to become. Because what you don't want is a stem cell differentiating, let's say in your muscles, into a neural stem cell or a neuron or fat tissue. And in fact, one of the aspects of aging that we can identify with aged stem cells is they differentiate into the wrong tissue. So, for example, imagine a 90-year-old person who's very stiff in terms of how they move their muscles. Well, we see that the differentiation signals that the stem cells are receiving, if they do arrive to the right place, are not handled well. It's like there's a lot of static on the line and it's not sure what to become. And we can see muscle satellite cells actually differentiating into fibroblasts or scar tissue. And so now an older person, an increasing amount of their regeneration, if it is even occurring, even though it's suppressed, is becoming the wrong tissue type. And so that's why we see an older person with the phenotypic expression of like stiff, less fluid muscles and movement.
Interesting. Yeah. This is just fascinating. This whole factory situation going on in our bodies, and
isn't it great?
These stem cells repair what's going on. And what's so amazing is, as you're describing, is they go to certain places in the body and they look to see what they should become. It's quite incredible.
That whole process is absolutely fascinating to me, and we don't have time to discuss it, but basically they're listening to ancient signals. So if we go back, a 15-second explanation is what we all come from a time when at some point there were just individual cells. And about 600 to 800 million years ago, cells started to come together and form fleets or multicellularity. And it was around that time where organisms formed and became and differentiated. So not all of the cells were doing all the same things. They started to take on different tasks. It was a division of labor, if you will. And in that process of doing that, the cells had to listen to signals that helped it become something that was actually functioning in a specific way. And so the signals that we receive today of our stem cells are ancient signals that have funny names like hedgehog and wint and notch. But they are then these signaling pathways that will elicit transcription factors in a cell, and then that cause that cell to make only specific types of proteins. Because as you know, all of our cells have all of our DNA, but you have to make only the right protein so it becomes the right cell. And the orchestration of that is beautiful. It takes weeks for a cell to differentiate into its final form. And it's this beautiful process that has involved transcription factors and signaling pathways and epigenetics that then help it become what it needs to become. But all of that needs to be in balance.
Just magic. Amazing. So it would seem to me that we want to have a process for stem cell support. And I understand Qualia has created a product called Qualia Stem Cell. Tell us about that and how it supports stem cells.
Several years ago, we saw that targets of healthspan, so some of the hallmarks of aging, seem to be amenable targets for us to then create a nutraceutical formulation that would target multiple different pathways or opportunities. And so our stem cell product is no different. And what we want to do is to try, one of the reasons I wanted to articulate that entire process of how a stem cell, where it lives and how it finally does its function, is because each part of that process provides an opportunity for us to nudge it in the right way. As I mentioned earlier, one aspect of stem cell exhaustion is overworking them, right? They have to stay in their hibernating state most of the time. And so our product design was reflective of that. How do we create a regenerative pulse, but not try to stimulate stem cells constantly? And so our product is taken for 4 days in a row, and then you wait a month, and then you do it again. And this is very much in the spirit of some of the other products we have, like a 2-day senolytic or senescent cell destroying formula. And the whole idea is that we're now orchestrating a sort of multi-product fleet that is targeting the different hallmarks, because we will not have a singular product that does it all. But we have to be, at least for now, we have to be selective in how we're trying to support the health of the body to do what it wants to do.
So you just take the Qualia stem cell product 4 days a month, and then you stop and take it 4 days a month the next month. Why do we stop? Because usually, when I think about vitamins, I've got to be taking it every day. What's different about this?
What happens Jonathan, to our immune system as we get older, it becomes weakened. And so now we have the beacon, but not the cleanup system. And so the inflammation rises in the body, and a high burden of senescent cells contributes to that. And so what we want to do is do this pulse of these different flavonoids, different types of nutraceutical products that get in there and create this synthetic lethality that target multiple pathways and help them actually pass on and die. Mm-hmm. And so we do that. We try to reduce the inflammation by killing out senescent cells. We wait a couple of days because guess what one of the factors is that impairs and interferes with normal stem cell function? Inflammation.
Right. I was just going to say, yes, inflammation is the big enemy here.
It's the big enemy. So we have 15 different ingredients. Several of them are phenolic and polyphenolic compounds. And I'll just give you one example of how those work. So we know that those types of compounds, like you can find in really high-grade olive oil, those will help to inhibit the master regulator of inflammation in the body, which is nuclear factor kappa beta. And so these phenolic compounds will bind to that and prevent it from translocating into the nucleus, where it can now make inflammatory molecules like TNF alpha, interleukin 1 beta, IL-6. And so by some of the goals of the product is actually to quiet down inflammation. Some of the ingredients are designed to actually elicit a pulse of the stem cells. So it wakes them up and it gets them into circulation. And then other ones are supporting differentiation and even stem cell protection. I didn't mention this earlier, but another component or characteristic of an aged stem cell is that they become weak. They lose their resilience. And so even if they have gone through all the processes so far, they are released from their niche, they get into circulation, they get towards differentiation. Halfway through the process, they're not strong enough and they die along the way. Mm-hmm. And so another aspect is, how do we then protect them to make them healthier so that they can fulfill their objective, which is, replacing tissue.
Hey all, Jonathan from Go2 Health. Let me ask, how do you sustain your energy throughout the day? I try to do it with the morning cup of coffee and then one in the afternoon as a pick-me-up, and of course my daily vitamins. But what if I told you I was trying something new that's working for me just great? It provides me with sustained energy and focus, with caffeine for alertness, but balanced by amino acids and taurine to prevent jitters or crashes. It also has a blend of B vitamins, L-carnitine, and choline to power my energy and mental clarity, even if I didn't get the best night's sleep. It's also packed with vitamins A, C, and E to support my immune health, even with my days of packed schedules. And it's sugar-free and what I'll call flavor-forward. I alternate between 3 delicious flavors: mandarin orange, mango strawberry, and fruit punch. Just 1 small scoop of mix in 8 ounces of water and I'm done. Boom, off to the races. This formula boasts 32 years of brand expertise and thousands of 5-star reviews from millions of users. And it's a woman-owned company. What's this product I'm yakking about? It's called Spark Energy Plus Focus from Advocare. Spark Energy Plus Focus. For Go to Health listeners, I've scored 30% off and free shipping. Go to drinkspark.com and use code GO2HEALTH at checkout. That's code GO2HEALTH at drinkspark.com. Let's tackle the day together with Spark Energy Plus Focus. Got it. So your Qualia stem cell formula addresses 6 different aspects of stem cell activity. Can you walk us through those?
Yeah. So I've talked about some of these so far, but we want to activate and mobilize some stem cells, right? We want to then help them migrate. And so we're providing circulatory support that allows to do that. So imagine, stem cells don't wander aimlessly within circulation. They have to listen to signals. So the kind of fun analogy that I imagine these stem cells have a little nose on them, and they are smelling this chemical trail that is released by the damaged tissue. Mm-hmm. And that's how they are now in circulation. And then they will adhere to the cell wall close to where that they need to get into the tissues. And so that whole process is then supported. We have several ingredients that are supporting that, like panic ginseng and Salvia militariza, one called fucoidan, which is a seaweed. And then, so that's part of it. We talked about, of course, proliferation, so that self-renewal and duplication process. We talked about differentiation. We talked about protection and resilience. It's really overwhelming to try to talk about all the different mechanisms of every different part of the formula. In general, what we did is screened over 100 different nutraceutical compounds that have either preclinical or clinical support to support some part of the process. And that's where the art of formulation comes in. So we have a group of PhD scientists who then sit around and argue and debate and advocate for the right combination of how do we create a formulation that's doing the right things. And like I said, that is very much an art form.
Got it. So what kind of results will people feel, or what have they reported? Are they subtle? Are they noticeable? How quickly might someone notice an effect when they're taking Qualia stem cell?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So one thing that I'm quite proud of is one of the reasons I was interested in joining the company is Qualia has received a Science and Innovation Award from the Nutrition Business Journal because we do test all of our products. The supplement space is different than the pharmaceutical space in a lot of ways. Pharmaceuticals have very large billion-dollar budgets that will walk through very large studies that oftentimes will take a synthetic compound and try to prove both safety and efficacy over a stretch of time, which then they can, if it gets FDA approval, receive monopoly profits if they're the only player in that space. The same degree of a burden in terms of what's the research is you don't see that in the supplement space. People can put together anything they want and put it out there into the world. And so what we wanted to do is say, okay, how do we do a good job? We put a lot of thought and we used a lot of science in creation, but now can we test it? So we usually start with something that is very simple, and I'll call it, lower confidence studies, which is a questionnaire, but also very important. Do you feel this? So for example, right now we have a pilot study, which was 4 weeks and 29 men and women with an age range of about 40 to 70. And we did an initial questionnaire, had the group of participants then take the product for 4 days in a row. And then we did 2 follow-up questionnaires, which is one at 5 days, so the day following, and then another 11 days. And we were mostly looking at symptoms of aging and a subscale of that, so healing and well-being. In general, I was personally surprised by this because I expected people not to feel anything right away. I would think you would need to be on this maybe for 3 months or so before you could notice real effects. But people reported decrease from baseline from symptoms of aging. So men was a decrease in about 30%, women 42%. Healing and well-being was generally the results were around a 30% improvement in things like healing and regeneration, improved well-being, joint function, mental focus, and clarity. So really across the board. And it was also rated favorably by a lot of folks. For products that have been in the market longer, we'll then do a more sophisticated controlled study. So either single blind, then moving into double blind studies. So we have, for example, our NAD product has 4 studies on it, 2 double blind. And that's how we essentially go about how we do what we do. That's where we're at now. The product is new, so we have good pilot study data, but we also have done an omics study. So we tend to try to marry, do people perceive an effect? And then secondarily, is there some sort of objective measurement that we can look at that shows that things are changing? So what people were reporting was that these symptoms of aging had decreased. So this is part of the survey. So part of that was like healing and well-being. So healing and rejuvenation, improved well-being, mental focus and clarity, joint and muscle function and fluidity. We were seeing somewhere, I would say on average across all of those, about a 30% response after the first dose of it.
Wow.
And the first trial, if you will.
Right, which is the first 4-day dosage.
Yes, and that surprised me. But the way that this product is designed to be taken is that your need to support stem cells is going to continue in perpetuity. And so that you would do this once a month forever is the idea.
Got it. So let me tell people where they can go to learn more, and we can give you a discount too. You can go to qualialife.com. That's QUALIA, qualialife.com/GTH for Go to Health. Qualia.com/GTH. And we have a coupon code of GTH where you can get 15% off any Qualia order. So make sure you go there. You can enjoy the discount. You can check out their different products. Again, it's qualialife.com/GTH and then code GTH. So doctor. Hey all, Jonathan from Go to Health. Let me ask, how do you sustain your energy throughout the day? I try to do it with the morning cup of coffee and then one in the afternoon as a pick-me-up, and of course my daily vitamins. But what if I told you I was trying something new that's working for me just great? It provides me with sustained energy and focus, with caffeine for alertness, but balanced by amino acids and taurine to prevent jitters or crashes. It also has a blend of B vitamins, L-carnitine, and choline to power my energy and mental clarity, even if I didn't get the best night's sleep. It's also packed with vitamins A, C, and E to support my immune health, even with my days of packed schedules. And it's sugar-free and what I'll call flavor-forward. I alternate between 3 delicious flavors: mandarin orange, mango strawberry, and fruit punch. Just 1 small scoop of mix in 8 ounces of water and I'm done. Boom, off to the races. This formula boasts 32 years of brand expertise and thousands of 5-star reviews from millions of users. And it's a woman-owned company. What's this product I'm yakking about? It's called Spark Energy Plus Focus from Advocare. Spark Energy Plus Focus. For Go to Health listeners, I've scored 30% off and free shipping. Go to drinkspark.com and use code GoToHealth at checkout. That's code GoToHealth at drinkspark.com. Let's tackle the day together with Spark Energy Plus Focus. Are there any questions that I haven't asked that I should have, or what kind of big message would you like to leave with people today?
2 things: that everybody gets to choose their comfort and their relationship with supplements. Supplements are not a silver bullet, but at best, sometimes they're considered a crutch. And in my mind, I think of them as a catalyst. That it is what's exciting to me, why I wanted to work in the product space, is that you can embed a lot of knowledge into a very easy form factor to comply with. Mm-hmm. But once a person starts to take steps, let's say if a person is starting off in terms of this is something that they're using in their health journey, we're more likely to see coherent decisions. If you're already investing in a particular area, you might be more likely to sleep better, to exercise, to sit less, to do the other things that we know are also extremely helpful. And I encourage everybody to establish their own rhythm and pattern. Health is a holistic pursuit. Mm-hmm. Right? Sometimes people will ask me, what's most important, exercise or sleep? And I respond with, what's the most important leg of the 4-legged chair you're sitting on?
Right.
If one of your legs was currently pretty creaky and broken, maybe for you that meant that you're going to emphasize some support in that area. But the idea persists that it all matters. And the inspirational message that I would say is, it can feel overwhelming at times because we're just getting more and more information all the time. Mm-hmm. But every time you learn something valuable, something that you add to your own practice, you have now the opportunity to exploit that knowledge and that pattern, that method for your own benefit for the rest of your life. And so don't worry about going slowly, make progress, incremental, and you'll start to see additive compounding effects over time.
Great. Thanks so much for being with us today. We've been talking with Dr. Dan Pardi. He's the Chief Health Officer at Qualia Life Sciences, where he leads education to advance health span and peak performance. He holds a PhD in cognitive neuroscience from Leiden University and Stanford, and speaks regularly at events like TEDx, VC firms, and the Institutes for Machine Cognition. Dan has advised military elite units, Fortune 500 companies, and startups through his consultancy, Vivendi Health. Dan, it's been great having you today.
I really appreciate the opportunity to come chat with you, Jonathan. And like I mentioned to you when we first said hello, I really appreciate the work you're doing. I'm going to continue to follow you and thank you. It's an honor to be on this same crusade with you to help people, optimize their health.
Great. Good. Thanks so much. And remember, folks, you can get a 15% discount on Qualia products when you go to qualialife.com/GTH. That's for Go to Health. The coupon code is GTH, and you'll get 15% off any Qualia order. So this has been a wonderful interview. I've learned so much about stem cells and the factories and the repair that are constantly going on in our body and our need to keep them healthy. This has been Jonathan Marx with Go to Health. And as we say at the end of every show, go to health. God bless. We'll see you again next time. Take care. Thank you for tuning in today to Go to Health. You are one of almost 10,000 people per day who enjoy the evidence-based health information offered by our guest health experts. You can watch us on our website and YouTube and listen to us on 8 podcast networks. Be sure to join Jonathan Marx in our upcoming shows each week. If you like our show, please share this episode with your friends and colleagues. You can subscribe to the show, join our email list, send us feedback, browse through the online store, and view our library of over 150 shows at gotohealthmedia.com. See you next time, and remember to elevate your life with Go to Health.